Halloween is almost here, and so I'm here with another Halloween countdown. I know this countdown wasn't voted, but I just wanted to make a Halloween special. Don't worry, I promise my next countdown will be one that was voted. This countdown, if you haven't noticed, is going to be about what I feel are the scariest moments in gaming history, whether they're intense, unsettling, or make me want to throw up. And don't complain about the fact that there aren't any rated M games or horror games on this list. I don't play those kinds of games. And don't call me a crybaby for my choices on this list. I'm trying my hardest to explain why these moments scare me. The closest I'll let you come to that is if you say, "That's not scary," as long as you don't act like a jerk when saying it. Let's start the video. The Haunted Hogs levels from Angry Birds Seasons. You see those pictures of pigs in the background? They don't look too scary, right? Well, they blink! I don't know what it is about the blinking pictures that bug me. I guess it's how they just stare blankly and then all of a sudden they blink out of nowhere. I guess that's probably what unnerves me about these pictures. Another thing that I'm creeped out is by during these levels you hear an eerie mist in the background. I don't have much else to say about this. Wow, I got my first Jiggy! Well, I guess now it's time for me to stop playing for now and pick up where I left off later on. Oh, I see they even have the transition synced like Gruntilda's head. That's an interesting... Wait. What's going on? Does this always happen after you get your first Jiggy? Is this supposed to happen? What the heck is happening here? Oh my gosh, that is freaky! You guys remember the submerged castle from Pikmin 2? Well, it just so happens that this is not only the most notorious level in Pikmin 2, but it's also the creepiest. When you're in the submerged castle, you get the feeling that something's not right. Even the music gives you that feeling. And if you spend too much time on a certain floor, this happens. This beast can crush a lot of your Pikmin at once, and you can't kill it until you reach the bottom floor. A lot of people hate the water wraith, but I personally find this more intense than annoying. The music even changes up to give you the feeling that you're messed up. Actually, Gigas isn't the entry here. Well, at least not the entirety of the entry. I'm not just talking about Gigas, I'm talking about the entire finale. I know what you're thinking. What? Only number 7? That's it, I'm clicking off. Well, I've heard countless stuff about Gigas years before I finally managed to get my hands on the game Earthbound, so I kinda knew what to expect from Gigas. Either way, this is truly scary. After getting all 8 of the sound stones, once you get back to Onet, you see that the place is now covered in darkness. The only way to stop this is to destroy Gigas, which requires you to go back in time 10 years into the past. You need to head back to Saturn Valley and use the Phase Distorter machine to be able to travel back in time. Before you travel, you must go to the cliff that time forgot, where you're greeted by one of the most unsettling songs in the game. I know a lot of people didn't find the song that scary, but I did thanks to the distorted instruments. You're told that if your bodies are transported back in time, they will be destroyed, so your brains will have to be planted into robots so that you can send them back in time. You even get to hear the sounds of their brains being cut out. That's just wrong, especially for something that's happening to 12-year-olds. You enter the Cave of the Past, which also has very disturbing music, as you make your way to Gigas. After an epic battle with Porky, he releases Gigas from the Devil's Machine. By now, everyone should know where Gigas' origin comes from. I would describe it, but I don't really talk about that kind of stuff in my videos, so click the link in the description box. Not only did it have that origin, but the song that plays in the background sounds like distorted computer noises, especially in Gigas' final phase. Here, Gigas goes berserk and starts flashing rapidly, making everything get even worse. Mario, despite being a franchise that's mostly platforming, has had some quite dark moments in the spin-off games. My opinion of the most terrifying of all of these would have to be the build-up cutscenes to the final boss in Thousand Year Door. After defeating Bowser and Kamikoopa, Grodus uses that time to get away. You run down into the deepest chamber of the Palace of Shadows where the music goes absolutely insane here. And by the time you reach the bottom floor, it's too late. Grodus has already beat you there. As he resurrects the Shadow Queen, this happens. Oh my gosh, this is disturbing. The thought of darkness spreading isn't really anything unique, but here is presented in a very unnerving way. Then, after the Shadow Queen possesses Peach, a lot of tremors are set off. And the Shadow Queen's powers are so evil that they reduce Grodus to just a single head. The final boss of the game is the Shadow Queen. The first phase is quite intense, but nothing too scary happens until the second phase happens. In this phase, the Shadow Queen is completely invulnerable to your attacks, giving you the feeling that you lost all hope of saving the world. After 3 turns in this creepy form, guess what happens next? The Shadow Queen creates a lot of evil hands, and then she consumes the audience! That's probably the most gruesome scene in the series! You even get to hear their screaming! Now it looks like you've lost all hope until the Crystal Stars give you the power you need to defeat her. Even still, this boss's presence is just unnerving. And I should know, considering how I've died countless times against this boss, and I've had to watch that same scene repeatedly. Even then, it still got me every time. At least with Gigas, I know what to expect from this boss. Here, however, I barely knew about what happened in this boss before I actually got to it. Okami is dark, and as a result, a lot of moments in the game are guaranteed to freak you out, such as the Spider Queen haunting the sunken ship, the part where you follow Rao's ghost, or how creepy everything is when you turn small and curse Cyan City. But if I had to choose which one's the worst out of all of them, well, I'll just show what my reaction was to it. Yahoo! Running through Taka Pass is so fun! Hey, there's a house in the middle of this field. Let's go see it. Wait, why does this guy look so freaky? What's with the unsettling music? Oh, look, there's an old lady. Let's talk to her. Okay, I'm freaked out now. Did I mention that there's a time in the game where you have to get into the house in order to save the Sparrow Princess Chun because the Cutters want to eat her? That's just not right. KB Madhouse has made a couple versions of his top 10 most disturbing Pokemon lists. But if there's one Pokemon I would have picked for number 1, it would definitely be Chandelure. So, there's no such thing as a bad Pokemon, eh? Then what do you call this? Chandelure is a Pokemon you never want to be around, because according to its Pokédex, its flame consumes people's souls and burns them up, then leaves the body to rot. It doesn't matter if you're good or evil. If you get too close to this Pokemon, you'll be forever tortured inside Chandelure's flame being burned up. Game Freak, are you trying to traumatize kids? There's no excuse. Seriously? There's no such thing as a bad Pokemon? Yeah, right. Hades is an awesome villain. By now, everyone in the community should know who he is. With so much quotable dialogue and hilarious moments, I'm honestly surprised that this guy doesn't have a Know Your Meme page. I'm not going to say that I'm rooting for him over Pip, but in no way does that keep me from loving him as a villain. So, what's he like on the inside? No, literally. There's literally a level that takes place in where he eats you. Most of the time in video games where you get eaten, it's usually by a big fish or a whale or something. And most of the time it looks all cartoonish, making it still gross, but not as disturbing. Here, with this game's realistic graphics and the fact that Hades is a humanoid god, this is just wrong. I don't know what's worse here. The incredibly bleak scenery, the morbidly deformed versions of past enemies you face. Oh wait, I got one. How about one of the most disturbing songs I have ever heard? And I thought that having to go inside Data Riku's stomach was disturbing. Later in the level, he will eat some Skyward ruins, making it even creepier. You even get a throwback to the previous chapter where you found out that Hades has been eating souls, which was already a disturbing thought in itself. Since souls get erased from existence when Hades eats them, they can't go anywhere when they die, and they can't even be reincarnated.
What do you mean by reincarnation, anyway? you know? Being reborn as someone or something else.
Which means a different body, different memories, and different experiences, yes? So isn't being reborn as something else the same as being removed from existence?
Maybe so, but that doesn't make this any less of cringeworthy. The boss of this level is his heart. Unlike most forms of media where they show a heart that isn't just heart-shaped, this looks like an actual beating heart. That's just morbid! But why am I talking? That's actually the least disturbing part of this other than the jokes. Oh, and even after you completely blow up his heart, that barely does anything to him. My point overall is that just because Hades is an awesome villain doesn't mean that his stomach isn't perfect nightmare fuel. Warning, if you grew up with Kirby 64, what I'm about to say may ruin your childhood. And no, it's not 02. It's much worse. You'll thank me later. Ah, Shiverstar. This place is a winter wonderland. There's nothing wrong about that, right? Well, think again. Look at the design of Shiverstar. Looks familiar to you? It looks exactly like the Earth, except in an apocalyptic state of being turned into a frozen wasteland. Something this haunting does not belong in a Kirby game. I know that the world has been threatened in some Kirby games, but showing what looks like a post-apocalyptic Earth in the Kirby game? Why? And it's also kind of creepy how there are some animals trapped in test tubes. That could imply that this really is a post-apocalyptic Earth and the robots are trying to get information on some of the animals that once lived there. The music that plays in the factories isn't too bad at first, but once the chorus part starts, the song starts to get much worse. After hearing what Clagmar said in this disturbing songs list, I can never listen to the song the same way again because this is what it represents. From this point of the game, gone are the colorful worlds and now you're entering the darkest part of the game. After hearing it that way, I can never listen to this song the same way ever again. I'm going to give you some more time to brace for number 1 while I recap the list. Number 10, Haunted Hogs. Number 9, the Game Over screen from Banjo-Kazooie. Number 8, Water Wraith. Number 7, the climax to Earthbound. Number 6, the resurrection of the Shadow Queen. Number 5, the Cutter House. Number 4, yeah, there's no such thing as an evil Pokemon. Number 3, Hades' Belly. And number 2, Shiverstar. There are a lot of scary things in video games, but my pick for the number 1 scariest thing in any game I've ever played is the moon from Majora's Mask. I knew this was going to be number 1 years before I made this list. By now, we should all know why it's on the list. Just looking at it will already make you think, wow, that's intimidating. While looking at it again after playing the game, you'll see it much differently. In this game, Majora has possessed the Skull Kid and tries to crash the moon into the town, which will not only destroy the town, but the entire world. The townspeople even react to the moon the way most people would react to this situation in real life. While obviously the moon isn't going to crash and destroy the Earth in real life, but they react to how someone would react in any inevitable situation. Throughout the game, there is a 3-day time limit, which is actually about 72 minutes in real life. You don't have to beat the whole game within that time. You get the Song of Time very early in the game, which you can play pretty much any time to go back to the first day. But either way, it's just terrifying. When I found out about that moon, I knew I was going to have nightmares. And turns out, I was right. Ever since then, I've had nightmares about that moon for many years to come. I've had nightmares about playing the game and being unable to play the Song of Time to go back to the first day, and in those nightmares, I even tried to turn the game off, and it still wouldn't turn off even then. I even had nightmares while I was in real life and the moon was about to crash into my house, and I couldn't play the Song of Time. Having nightmares about something in a video game is normal, so what makes it number 1? Well, the fact that unlike the other 9 entries on this list, that moon gave me nightmares about it even to this day. I don't have nightmares about it every night, but I still have them a lot. When I first played this game about 6 years ago, if something gave me nightmares for that long and still gives me nightmares about it, that's saying something. Even after seeing a lot of Flash YouTube poops with the moon being used in it, and the bad ending being shown in a lot of videos I've seen, it still has an impact on me. Nintendo, I hope you're proud of yourselves. You created something that gives me nightmares even to this very day, no matter how many times I see it. That is what makes the moon from Majora's Mask to be what I find to be the scariest moment in video games.